What's up YouTube, Capital G here, doing a quick video response to the video that AznEyes posted yesterday about how it takes no skill to top a YCS, and he kind of really inferred that it doesn't really take any skill to win at all in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I thought his argument was just kind of laughable, but I didn't want to be the first person to kind of make this video. I'm actually glad that Jonathan Moore made this video expressing his point of view, because I felt like if I made this video today, which, well, today being Monday at the time, you guys will see this probably Tuesday, I felt like I was just going to get a whole bunch of backlash from people saying, oh my god, drama, because we know in YouTube 2016 you can't disagree with anybody without people thinking that it's quote unquote drama, because I don't know, that's just some people just love drama or something like that. But anyways, this is just my opinions on the topic, because he said he wanted to open up a discussion, and he brings up a bunch of points. I think a lot of them are either just straight up wrong or they're just silly. Some of them are subjective, and then some of them actually have nothing to do with actual skill and Yu-Gi-Oh! So I think the foundation of his entire argument is like shaky at best. I think it's kind of silly, because his entire reason for even making this video is, I guess, some really big colossal mistake that a player made in top 4, which probably would have got him to the finals. Well, almost certainly would have gotten him to the finals had he not made that mistake. But the thing about it is, he basically isolates this one single moment in time, this one single thing that happened with the player. He doesn't talk about at all the events that led up to that, like, you know, the guy playing like maybe 10 rounds of Swiss and how he did in Swiss, or his understanding of the game and the meta, or his deck building, or any of these other factors that can contribute to the guy's overall understanding of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or how skillful he is as a player. It's just like, oh, you misplayed once, terrible player confirmed. It's like, well, what fucking sense does that make? Are we now going to imply that if you make a misplay at a very, I guess, important time, you know, in an event, that you're automatically a bad player? I think trying to justify that this guy's a terrible player based on that one result is just straight up silly, considering we don't know anything else about the guy. Second, he brings up multiple examples where he's just flat out wrong. Like, I can just prove that he's wrong. He says that Final Countdown won a YCS. That never happened. Tyler Tapman actually made top 16 and then he lost. So he's just straight up wrong on that point. He talks about Courtney Waller, and he talks about how in the top 4 of a YCS, Courtney Waller summoned Dp-Ygo, which was a super suspicious play, and he just starts attacking with it without any crush card or without any kind of backup plan. And, you know, AznEyes is like, oh, the guy says, no, I don't care about winning, I'm just a troll player. Like, okay, for starters, that's just a flat out lie. I don't know where you got that, and that actually just really makes me upset, because I actually know Courtney Waller personally. He was on my channel before. Like, I actually know this guy in real life. You know, Courtney Waller is a player who has top US nationals twice. He has won a YCS, and he has topped like 5 regionals. So I would say that he probably has a higher understanding of the game than you do, just from a competitive standpoint. Like, I actually asked him about that situation multiple times, and he explained to me that he didn't think he was going to win the duel. It was basically just like a free loss, so he decided to kind of just go YOLO, summon his Dp-Ygo, and see what he could get out of it. It wasn't because he didn't care about winning or anything like that. So he also brings up some examples of how, like, basically you can just pick up any top tier deck and then you can just automatically top events. But that doesn't make any sense, because why do you go to events and you see the same people in the middle of the tables or the lower end of the tables? Like, you see players who play really high tier decks, people who are just considered to be not very good Yu-Gi-Oh players, who kind of switch to meta decks and they still don't do well. It's because just because you're improving your deck doesn't mean you're actually improving as a player. You know, he says that the game is pay to win, which I could not agree, or I could not disagree with him more. Like, that would have been a very legitimate argument had he made that argument in 2008 or 2009. Like, it would have made a lot of sense to bring it up then, you know, during Dad Return, Glad format, and like Teledad format, when, you know, Heraclinos was like a $300 card, Dark Arms were like $250, Crush Card was like $300, and, you know, to play like the highest tier deck, Teledad, you know, you had to pay $1,200 for that. Even to go a step down from Teledad during that era, you had to play like basically, I don't know, $1,000 for Lightsworn. That was a good time where you could say basically if you weren't paying out, you know, $1,200 for Teledad, you didn't have the best chance of winning. But that doesn't hold true now today. If you really look at the meta, and obviously you take like Minerva out of it because she's behind a paywall, she's kind of her own little category, Dark Magician is the most expensive competitive deck. Whether you run Desires or not, it's basically a starting point of like $250. But the thing is, just because it's much more expensive than ABC or Metaphos or PK Fire doesn't mean that it gives you a much higher chance of winning just because you spent more money. Like, would anybody say that Dark Magician gives you a better chance of winning right now than a deck like Metaphos or PK Fire just because it's more expensive? Like, no, obviously, because it's not as good as a deck as those other archetypes that I just named. Like, look earlier this year, like look at Domain Monarchs, the one that won US Nationals. What was that deck like? 60, 70, $80 maybe tops for the entire deck. Like PK Fire was like a $200 deck because Break Swords were almost $60, you know what I mean? Like PK Fire was 3 times more expensive than Domain Monarchs, but just running PK Fire didn't mean you were like 3 times more likely to top an event than with Monarchs. Like it just doesn't work like that. Like Yu-Gi-Oh is not like World of Warcraft, you know what I mean? Like both players don't get the expansion pack and one guy has to grind and, you know, do a whole bunch of like side quests and shit to beat the boss and get a whole bunch of experience, while the other guy just says, you know what, forget that, I'm just gonna pay $5, I'm just gonna buy all the equipment, you know, pay to win, and I'm just gonna kill the boss immediately. That's not how the game works. He also goes and he talks about a whole bunch of cheating and how all the pro players are cheaters. He never actually cites his sources, which, I mean, I don't know if he just expects us to just try and, you know, like accept his word as gospel just on good faith, but like he's already been wrong in the video multiple times, so I don't understand why anybody would do that. But if you're basically kind of trying to quote Roy St. Clair, who everyone already knows is an open cheater and has said multiple times, yeah, I cheat. Yeah, Roy St. Clair says that he cheats, but that doesn't mean that all the pro players cheat. Like, name me another pro player who's come out and just been like, yeah, I openly cheat and everybody cheats, and I can name this, and this guy who cheat. Like, it's never happened except him, and he's been banned multiple times. Like, it's not a secret that he basically says he cheats. Like, it's not even a secret. Come on now. He continues to go on and he talks about how people have topped with like FTK decks and Final Countdown, how it doesn't really involve any skill, and why I do agree with that. The problem with that argument is like those examples are so few and far in between, because everyone knows that as soon as those decks do good on the YCS level, what does Konami immediately do every single time? They banhammer the fuck out of them. Remember when Final Countdown got that one top? You know, Konami immediately limited Final Countdown. You guys remember the Monarch like Magical Explosion deck earlier this year? Like, what did Konami do? They immediately banned chicken games so the fucking deck wouldn't work. Like, look at the Shadow Priestess of Ohm FTK. Okay, they hit that with the emergency ban list during Dad Return era, when basically they took Dark Magician of Chaos and Defusion out of the game. You can look at, you know, Frog FTK. Okay, oops, what happened to Mash Driver? Like, what happened to Substitute? They banned those cards. So it's like those decks basically only exist for like maybe a 2 or 3 month period before Konami immediately recognizes them, and then they just basically banhammer them out. Like, you don't get players who are like, oh yeah, I'm bragging, baby, I topped that one YCS with my FTK deck, I'm so good. Like, that's not considered to be like a great Yu-Gi-Oh player. Like, no one looks at that player and is like, that's great. It's like, yeah, can you do that consistently without like an FTK deck? Like, I don't think that proves that it takes no skill just because a couple of times out of like 150 YCSs that FTKs actually did well. So honestly, I kind of find his argument to be a little bit laughable. I think just common sense would prove otherwise. And, you know, I think there's the reason why you see like these really good players like, you know, maybe Patrick James or Jeff Jones, Tyree Tinsley, you know what I mean, Patrick Hoban, why you see them with so many premier tops and why you always see them at the top tables is because they're just a lot better than the average player. You know, you do see maybe every once in a while, you'll see just a terrible player make top 32 at like a YCS, but then you never see that guy top again. Like, I mean, if you throw enough shit at a wall, like eventually some of it will stick. At least that's what Glasgow told me anyways. So I think that the argument is honestly just kind of silly. I think it's actually kind of demeaning, especially to Yugi-tubers like myself, to ones like the JRB Zero, Yugi No, like Sam from Team Samurai X. And I say like these people specifically because we actually play the game competitively. Like, we go to regionals, we try and do really well, and when you get your invites or when you make top 8, you go 7-2 or fucking 8-1. At the end of the day, like, that shit is hard. And it's kind of like Sager's just saying, oh nah, Sam, like you didn't top this regionals because, you know, like you made like main deck choices for Ghost Ogre and you wanted to blow out the mirror matches and you were prepared and you had outs the vanities and you had good deck. Like, none of that mattered, dude. You only won because you were playing ABC. You just sat down, you showed your opponent Buster Dragon, and then they just scooped. They said, fuck, I can't beat that, man. GG, easy. I guess you just take the win. So basically, what I'm saying is, I guess I would like to issue a challenge to Sladra. I mean, put up or shut up. If you're going to say all of this, then I think you should be able to back up your claims. If it's just that easy, then I believe you should be able to do it. I have a monetary incentive for you, buddy. I will hook you up with $150 in your PayPal the very next day. No questions asked. The only thing you have to do is either top 8 a regional in these United States of America, or you just have to top, or you can just top 32 a YCS. Before the end of the format, I don't care where it is. You can go to fucking, I don't know, the backwater woods of wherever you want and go top that event. But you can't make, if it's like a 300 person regional, like, so you can't make like top 260, you know, third and be like, man, I top, dude. Come on now. It has to be top 8 or it has to be top 32 at a YCS. You do that and I've got $150 because you've kind of thrown down the gauntlet, dude. So it's like, you know, don't bitch out, man. Either put up or shut up.